Hey everybody, it is Kendell Lenice and welcome to Tea and Conversation. Tea heals and soothes just like healthy conversation. Soothes. Tea soothes the soul and it's a lot of healing benefits in tea. So as a transformational life coach, you know I love that. So I'm excited about today's show. Let me just show you my shirt. Who is the boss? Hey, Diana Ross. But welcome to Tea and Conversation. I'm so excited about today's show. I have two in a row. I have a show with Brother Calvin D. Tucker. Let me move it on up. All right. So Brother Calvin D. Tucker Jr., he is an entertainer. I know you heard of Cedric the Entertainer because he's so talented and does multiple things. Well, so does Calvin D. Tucker Jr. He was just in the Wonder Woman movie. I saw him online singing Jimmy. You remember Jimmy? Jimmy's song from Dreamgirls. He's a singer, he's a model, he's an actor, he's a dancer, he's a producer. He is a man of many talents. So he is going to come on. He is going to be my first interview of today. So this is 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I have one immediately coming up then is Sherelle R. Ashton. But first up, Brother Calvin D. Tucker. So we'll wait for him. Make sure he knows to come on over. But I hope everyone had a great day. I have my tea right here. All right, there he is. There he is. I didn't have my intro music on for Calvin. Boop, 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 boop. Maybe I'll have him sing. Hey, hey, hey.
What up? What up?
I didn't have my intro music on for you because I know you can sing.
Oh, yeah, put up on the spot.
You're gonna have to make an intro. You sound really low. Let me see. Go ahead.
Oh,
I hear you better now. Hey, hey.
what about now?
It's perfect. I might have to have you do an intro song for me. For tea and conversation, since you over there creating everything.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
Ooh, and tea and conversations. Ooh, yeah.
You gotta do your head like this.
Ooh, yeah.
Like a good say. Welcome to Tea and Conversation.
What up?
All right, so this is Tea and Conversation. Is that tea in that cup?
Yes, it is. I just got to be extra.
Okay, that's all right. That's how I like to drink my water in a wine glass, so I'm not mad at you. All right.
My diet, Lipton, citrus.
And Lipton ain't sponsoring us yet, but y'all could.
Right.
So you're drinking some tea. All right, so I got my tea here. I have some ginger lemon tea. You know, as I was saying before you came on, this is Tea and Conversation. So just like tea soothes and heals, so does great conversation. So this is with ginger, reduces hunger. It builds your immunity system and all of the good stuff. And lime and lemon does the same thing for the immune system. And these days, we want to keep our immune systems up, right?
Amen.
Got some raw honey in there, and I'm gonna sip my tea as I talk to this amazing guy right here. So before you came on, I was talking about you being an entertainer and how, you know, you're so many slashes. You're an actor, you're a model, you're a singer, you are a content creator. Tell the people about Calvin D. Tucker, Brother Calvin D. Tucker, because you have the brother in front of your name, and I know what it means because I've interviewed you multiple times. But tell the people why.
200 times.
Right. This is probably like the 18th time.
Come on. and more to come.
And I'm gonna keep having you back. And you always gonna be in that pocket for me, because on my last birthday, you was getting your life. Me and you was dancing on.
Come on. We was turned during the
was a good
quarantine.
time. Right. It's almost a year. Next month will be a whole year.
Wow, that went fast.
That went fast. So, all right, Brother Calvin D. Tucker, you go by brother. Let's talk about that. Why do you put brother in front of your name?
So brother came from growing up in the black church, So I know in other cultures and other classifications of religion, the term brother actually is almost the same as like minister or deacon or something like that. So to call someone brother is like an actual religious title. It's not that far-fetched because I'm a preacher as well, but that's not why I put brother in front of my name. But it's just because growing up, being little, you would hear, I need, if you had a question, they'd be like, go see brother so-and-so, sister so-and-so. Everybody was brother and sister in the whole church, no matter what age you were, you always brother and sister. And so it kind of grew on me, long story short. And so when I transitioned to entertainment full time, I was like, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna let the peoples know I'm up out of the church. So I kept it.
So how does that work out as a model? Because I know that you were pursuing modeling, and you have an interesting story about that. About going to, you know where I'm going? You want to talk about that?
Oh yes, we're gonna take them back to
with your morals and values that you.
Yeah, we're gonna take them back to your other show. What was it? The one that we did the phone interview.
The Shine with Kendell Lenice, the podcast.
Yeah. So
good memory.
So my entertainment name originally was Minister Calvin Tucker when I first started. So modeling was my first professional entertainment career out of all of the different lanes that I work in. After I graduated from college, I was like, okay, now what we gonna do? Am I really going to pursue a career in modeling and acting and things like that, where they're predominantly sell sex? That's the main push in those industries that I was already kind of doing work in, making my way in. But now was the time. Are you really going to jump in full speed ahead? So when I did that, I had to decide, okay, what's your stage name going to be, or what's your entertainment name going to be? And so it was literally Minister Calvin D. Tucker Jr. And that was for music, that was for modeling, that was for acting. So when I would show up for acting auditions and stuff, they would always ask me about my name. Why Minister at the front? And so basically, I left Minister on so that once I showed up on set, or once I got booked for something in entertainment, because they predominantly sell sex, the title Minister, in my opinion, should have given people in the industry a little clue that maybe he's a little religious, or maybe he has some standards about what he will and will not do. For example, when I first came in the game, I didn't do shirtless modeling, underwear modeling, or sexually suggestive posing. And so those are the standards I held as a young man coming in the game professionally, and still to this day. And so it always caught people, like, and then I would explain, I would say, well, I actually am a minister and I'm also pursuing entertainment. So I don't want industry people to be confused. Yeah. So I figure if I leave minister on the front, then maybe it'll be less confusion. But long story short, that didn't cause less confusion, Kendell. It didn't. Because they still would get mad because I wouldn't do certain things once I'm on set, and I'll be like, well, that's just, it's not my standard. It's not what I promote. And I try to, live as clean as possible. I'm not perfect, but these are images that I actually don't believe in, even outside of religion. Like, and so I would explain it, and sometimes they'd get it, and then they would just end up saying, well, it's such a shame because you have a great body. And so I would say, okay, well, thank you, I appreciate that. And so that's where it always would end up. They would be shocked because, number one, I had a conversation with someone in New York, photographer, and we battled on the phone about this whole thing about me not doing underwear modeling. And I was told by him and his close friend, who actually is here in Baltimore, that I'm not a real model unless I do implied nude or artistic modeling. Who said that? I don't want to call names because it's not.
It's another a fellow model said that, or just someone.
No.
Okay.
So the photographer is the one in New York, but his friend in Baltimore is a fashion designer
Okay.
and someone who I've worked with throughout the years.
Okay.
And so both of them have the same kind of idea on it.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing: after we battled, we had quality questions and answering going on. So it was a productive debate. So he finally enlightened me on why all this time I had been having issues because I didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Even though they say you have a great body, I'm like, okay, but they're okay, you can get somebody else. But he was saying, okay, in New York, there are thousands of young men who would do whatever, who would drop their clothes, who would,
Mm-hmm.
do things with their body and their sexual organs at the drop of a dime to get discovered, to get famous, to get
Mm-hmm.
on. So the fact that I don't, it catches them because it's like they don't run across people that have a standard.
Yeah, because most people will
On a
sell their
regular basis.
soul for the industry, the entertainment industry. Most people will sell their soul. If it's
Yeah.
about getting a role and all I gotta do is take my shirt off, all I gotta do is be naked, all I gotta do is compromise my morals, that's it. Oh, I'm counting
Exactly.
in. How much is the check? And that's what
Right.
people are used to, drawing that line when it comes to the check. So people
Mhm.
always say, I'm not going to do this. But those people in the industries, the higher ups, count on, but everybody has a price. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So then when
And
you say,
everybody else does it. Yeah.
right. So then when you say, I don't care how much, I have standards and morals, and I think that that's pretty ballsy of a man to do in the industry, to say, you know what, I'm going to set a standard for myself. Because
Mhm.
oftentimes you hear women setting standards, but you don't hear men talking about that, talking about, you know
Mhm.
what, I'm going to appreciate me and I'm going to appreciate the Lord, and I'm setting boundaries and I'm creating standards by just putting minister in front of my name, or brother, so you know that I'm a church kid, so you know that I have values, that I have a higher being that I'm
Mhm.
held responsible to. And in a modeling and them doing almost like they do to women, well, you have a nice body, you should show it off.
Mhm.
I remember
Yep.
people telling me that with my legs, because a lot of times I didn't wear shorts or anything because I would get a lot of attention, to be honest, and that would make me
Mhm.
feel uncomfortable. And I would have women telling me, you need to show off your legs, you need to do this, you need to do
Mhm.
that because you got a nice this or that. But people don't understand maybe where your integrity lies, or your morals, or that you don't want to be just a piece
Mhm.
of meat. So
Right.
I think that that's very admirable for you to have done that, especially at a young age. Tell me where you think, and I just want to honor your dad for a moment,
Mhm.
right? Because your dad recently passed. So everybody watching, please just send your prayers up for continuous healing for my brother here, Calvin. But what did your father show you about standards and about manhood, that
Mhm.
somebody instilled that in you to say, you know what, I have these standards and I'm taking these with me to the entertainment industry. So let's talk about what your parents said first when you decided to go into the industry, and what was the best thing that your father taught you about you when it comes to standards.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. Yes, my father passed in January of this year from his battle with ALS, and so I attribute all of my standards and the way I carry myself now in entertainment all the way back from my upbringing. Both of my parents were raised in the South, but they came to Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, I'm sorry, my mother was raised in Baltimore, but her family's from down south too.
Mm-hmm.
So they taught us everything, but it's the basics. Like my father was so big on appearance and so big on image and what people saw of the family representation, to the point where it annoyed me and my sisters as adults.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as younger kids, we didn't really get it. It's just like, okay, but it's like a thin line between we didn't get it why you're so much about that, to I see why you're about that, because I look at some of the other people I'm around, other young people who don't have certain leadership, and then maybe it's not a man in their home, or maybe whatever their dynamic is, or maybe their parents don't care, because not every parent is qualified to be a parent.
Come on
So
now.
when you're around all of those elements, then you come back home and you're getting drilled on, on don't do this, don't do that, say this, say that, yes ma'am, no, no sir, those types of things. And other kids are just cussing people out. You see it because you see the other activities that they participate in, then you see the consequences behind those. Then you be like, oh, I never do that because, and your only answer as a young child is because my parents would tear me up, like. But then as you get older, you start understanding that I don't want to choose to do that because the roads that leads me down is something I personally, even without my parents, don't want to be involved in.
Right.
So long story short, they made sure we ironed our uniforms. Our uniforms were pressed. Shoes tied, the shirt tucked in for the most part with the uniforms. We had church clothes, then we had school clothes, and then we had play clothes.
Right,
amen.
Play clothes. Put your play clothes on.
And you bet not. Clothes on. You bet not be caught on the steps.
And don't be
chilling
messing
with your
up
friends.
School clothes. What?
Come on. So that in and of itself, as a young person, it was the consistency in both of my parents drilling that in us. But my father was so big on, oh, you're not going to embarrass me. You ain't going out the house like that. And so he was on the far strict side, and my mother brought in the balance. Because when I started designing clothes at like 12 or 13, and started actually wearing them to school in high school. 9th grade, I was rocking curtain outfits I made out of curtains and tablecloths. But if it was up to my father, none of that would have saw the light of day. My father was always against me wearing the creations I made, and my mother she would argue him down and let me be me and do that. So it was like the perfect balance almost to where it still allowed me not to go too far. Yeah. But I still was like, come on, can you just, let me do this, get it out my system. So that's where it was my upbringing, basically, that allowed me to bring in my values from when I was young into business. And then it was those who I was around as well that allowed me to see it. Growing up in the Black church, you learn a lot of integrity. You learn a lot of I have these words, but how to carry yourself and how to be respectful. There it is. That's one of the words. Yeah. You learn all that in church, and especially when you love church. Like I loved church when I was a kid. I loved participating in the choir, usher board, whatever it was, the singing and all that type of stuff. That's where I debuted my music that I wrote, my songs and stuff. I did all that in the church. And so when I wrote my first song, I believe I was everything was started to happen at like 11 and 12. I believe I was 12 or 13, and I wrote it to ushers. You know how back in the day,
I remember that.
Yeah, remember back in the day, you can get a single that was on cassette tape. Like if they released one song, they would have the song that you hear on the radio. They would have the album cut of the song, which is longer than the radio cut. Yeah. Then they would have the remix, and they would have the instrumental and some other stuff sometimes. But the song "My Way" by Usher, I got that. I had that single already, I believe. I was playing, and I was like, I think I can write my own songs because I was singing everybody else stuff. I was like, I think I can write my own songs, but I was writing gospel lyrics to R&B tracks. So him, then it was Faith Evans, "Love Me, Touch Me Deep in My Soul, Never Let It Go." Yeah. So that song, and what was funny about that song was, and even "My Way," but more so with that Faith song, when I wrote my gospel song to that and sung it at church for our youth night, people were singing the Faith Evans. Because people was in the audience in church singing the Faith Evans hook under my gospel song. Because they was like, oh yeah, I know what this is.
Song, but they knew.
Right. They like, yeah, I know this. That's the. But yeah.
That is so funny. So you were definitely a church kid. You were creating songs. You were like the Kirk Franklin. You know how he uses the secular songs to create gospel songs. So you were doing that, let's just say around the same time Kirk was, but you didn't know about Kirk then. Let's just put it that way.
Oh no, I knew about Kirk. He was a great inspiration. Yeah.
So okay. So even so at 11, you saw, do you think that it was the influence of Kirk Franklin, where you said, okay, or
No.
did you even, because you didn't even know those secular songs, right? Except
Yeah, I
for
knew
what
all
they
of them.
said.
I had all of those songs. I'm telling you, we lived an amazing life growing up. We were well rounded. We had block parties. I knew about Earth, Wind and Fire, Shirley Caesar,
So that's good.
C.C. Peniston, all of them at a young age. You know, the Parliament Funkadelic, Whitney Houston, all of it. From a young age.
So you had the
So
best of both worlds. So even, and I
yeah,
think that that's something to point out, because typically when you are a church kid and you go into church every day of the week, typically there's not any secular music in the house. There's just
right.
gospel. So you were different. So you got a chance to experience, like you said, Earth, Wind and
Mhm.
Fire, CC Peniston, who
Yeah.
I love, but I was a little grown when CC came out, because me and CC around the same age.
Yeah,
But
so it was all of them.
that's good, but that helped shape you. How do you feel that that rounded you out? You had the church, the solid foundation in the church, and the good gospel with Shirley Caesar, but then you have
All of them.
someone with dance music and R&B like CC
Hmm.
Peniston. How did both of those create Brother Calvin, or
So
contribute?
growing up, the first artist that made me want to be a singer was Keith Sweat. So every year,
1988.
come on,
I was
every year, I would drive down with my father to Georgia. That's where his family was. And
mm-hmm,
back then, we used to have reunions, family reunions every year, and they were huge. They still are, but they were huge because
mm-hmm,
family owned land and stuff. And so we was always on the family land. We didn't have to worry about renting anything. Like when we
mm-hmm.
come up here to Baltimore, you got to rent this, rent
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But down there, we were just on the land doing sports, athletic games, getting trophies, talent shows, all that. So I was always wanted to be with my father, wanted to go with him. So every year we driving 10 hours down, 10 hours back with my father. And he had like two tapes back then, cassette tapes, y'all. Come on. He
Your
had,
father did?
yes,
Okay.
my father loved music as well. And
Okay.
he sung a little bit too. He was on the hardcore side, so he didn't want to let you see that. But
Right.
every now and then, and as we got older, it was, we got to see him act goofier and sing or whatever. But when he went down south was where I got to see another side of my father that he didn't show us up here in the city. I got to see the goofy side. I got to hear all the stories about how he used to cut up like I did in school, but he wouldn't tell us that.
Of
He
course
was Mr.
not.
Perfect, but I'd go down there and answer stuff, be like, yo, daddy, did you know? I'm like, oh, daddy, did you? Oh, okay.
So don't tell me he's playing Keith Sweat on the way down to the south.
All the way down, Keith Sweat, all the way back in Aaliyah. So he loved Aaliyah too. He
Come
loved Keith
on,
Sweat and Aaliyah.
Daddy.
Yes. So Keith Sweat is the one that made me want to sing first. And then of course you got people like Aaron Hall when I was coming up, and then
Mm-hmm.
R. Kelly, Jodeci, all those people, Brandy.
Mm-hmm.
And so by
That
the time
90s
I
music,
started,
it was
yeah,
amazing.
by the time I started to sing, my male influences are Usher and Chris Brown. They're at the top, and Tank. People like them. Then there's a whole nother list, but definitely Usher, Chris Brown, Tank, those type of people, um, males inspired me vocally. But songwriting again came from my upbringing in church though. Being on a
Mm-hmm.
choir, you dissected songs. You had the list, you knew why you were singing it, you knew who you were singing it for.
Yeah.
You understood in choir rehearsal by breaking it down. So
Yeah.
if I was an R&B choir singing R&B music, it would be the same feel. But because I grew up in the church, we had amazing choir directors and youth leaders who made sure we understood what we were singing. And it was in those rehearsals of repeating notes, repeating, soprano section, alto section, you hearing all these different sounds and how they come together and create harmony. It just created this passion in me to want to create and want to express my praise to God through
Yes.
lyric, and rap and poetry as well. All that stuff started to happen around 11 and 12.
Wow, I find that interesting. You just said a lot there. And when you named Chris Brown, you named Usher, and you named Tank. So all of those three gentlemen are multifaceted. They
Mm-hmm.
write, they sing, well, outside of Tank,
Dance.
they dance. I was gonna say outside of Tank,
Act.
they dance,
Right.
they act. All three of
Mm-hmm.
them act. So when you think of Calvin Tucker, D.
Mm-hmm.
Tucker, the entertainer, you can see where that influence lies. And I think it's so important for kids to see people that do many different things. And then that way they can see that it is possible. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you'll look at someone and say, well, I want to act because that person acts. And it's almost not to say that just acting is not good, but it shows that people can do different things at the same time. You know, that your talent at any point, was your talent suppressed? Because most of the time when people do a lot of different things, and they do a lot of different things well, that's the thing. Did anyone ever say, well, Calvin, just pick one thing? Yeah, I know you like Chris Brown. He dances
all the time.
He acts. Okay, so tell me, when someone tells you, Calvin, just to do one thing, you know, you got too much going on, do one thing. What do you tell them?
I tell them that is a possibility. And just the same way people will ask me, well, when do you sleep? Or how do you get? I sleep very well. I don't miss sleep on a regular unless, so when you're in the studio, you're working on a project, yes, you can go into 3 or 4 a.m. And then have to get up at 8 a.m. Yes, you didn't get proper sleep that night, a couple nights a week, you know, but not months and months of, I just don't get no sleep. No, because when God has created you to do something, God is going to create the avenues for you to do it. He's going to, number one, he created you with the capacity to handle all of it. That's what I grew to understand, is that I have the capacity to handle all of these visions and dreams God gives me. Frustrated.
When you discovered that God gave you these gifts and he created this and you have what it takes to do all of them. How old were you? Were you a child, or did you learn when you became an adult?
I wasn't a child when I understood that. I was definitely in high school, because I used to trip my teacher, my music teacher out, Miss Carlton. Shout out to Miss Heather Carlton. I used to tell her, well, that's another side. Let me talk about what was we talking about?
You were talking about how you have the, you know, you have the wherewithal and the strength. God gave it to you to do all of the things. And we were talking about sleep. And you were saying,
doing so many things, and people saying I'm doing too much, right? Because a lot of times, if somebody doesn't, when people don't have an example right in front of their face of what they consider a success, full version of what you're doing, then they automatically will not agree with what you're doing. They automatically tell you either it's not going to work or you got to pick one. Because we know there are Diddy's out there. There's Diddy, there's Kirk Franklin, there's Mary. There are so many examples of people in the entertainment industry who have crossed multiple lanes and are successful. They have their own kitchen lines, bath lines, in addition to albums and movies that they're starring in addition to producing their own movies. And everything is a different layer in a different lane. But what people, what they assume is that they had to pick one. And some of them will say they had to pick one. But for me, let me talk about me. I felt as though I didn't have to pick one because I wasn't doing all of those things in one day. And I always, this is the first road of defense I always say. Since I was young, I would go here. I would say, well, I'm all of those things, yes. But right now, today, on May 11th, 2021, I'm not in the studio recording the album. I'm not releasing the album today. I'm not on set doing a photo shoot right now at the same time. I'm not designing clothes, making clothes right now. You know, I'm not on a movie set filming right now. I'm not performing live right now at the same time. It's all not happening at the same time. And that's what people hear.
Did that? You see how you did that soft flex real quick? Did you see how you just did that?
What's up?
I'm not on a movie set right now. I'm not designing clothes right now. I'm not acting in a play or a movie right now. That was a nice flex. In a good way. You just broke it all down. Boom, boom,
I'll take it. But people think you're doing that literally today.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. Yeah. Not for me. I haven't seen anybody try to do. I can't be on tour and it's on set at the same time. That's not, you know. So anyway, I do that to try to get people to see that once the album is out, okay, now I'm done. Yeah. Now I have promo. Now I'm on the Kendell Lenice show promoting the album that's about to come out next week. All right, while I'm doing the Kendell Lenice show, then tonight I may have a performance to promote the album. Then
Absolutely.
tomorrow I may be on set shooting some shows. But
Yeah.
then the album's still gonna come out next week. So on
Right.
that day, I'm back on somebody's show. So it's a rotation. It's a
Yeah.
process, and you plan. That's what I've learned from my father. My father was so big on us having a plan. He would say you got to have a plan A,
Mm-hmm.
B, C, and then, and if
Yeah.
that don't work, what's your plan D?
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
he hit us with that all the time to
Yeah.
the point where I teach my mentees the same thing. Like I
Yeah.
teach whoever I'm counseling or helping or consulting, teach them the same principle.
Yeah.
And people look at that as if I've noticed a lot of celebrities when they do interviews, they look at that negatively. Because I'll ask people, I've interviewed people, and I've said, okay, if you weren't an actress, or if you weren't a successful supermodel,
Mm-hmm.
what other career? That just means what are your other passions? They take it to mean what's your backup plan if you fail.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what that means.
Right.
That's
Right.
not what that means.
Right.
Yeah.
But do
So
you ever feel, Calvin, do you ever feel overwhelmed, with doing so many different things and wanting to pursue so many different avenues and facets of this entertainment industry? Do you ever at times feel overwhelmed and say, you know what, it's too much? Maybe I should pick one thing or two things. Maybe they're right. Does that ever enter your mind, or that you're on a mission to do all these things and to be this ultimate entertainer?
no, after over 15 something years, I think it was over 12 years at that time, because I'm pushing 20 years in the entertainment industry. But when I was pushing a little bit past 12 years,
Mm-hmm.
I had some run-ins with some, I would call them quality run-ins or
Okay.
quality challenges with people who challenge that mentality of me doing so much, and I'm still on this. No, it's not too much. It's not too much. And then by them challenging me and explaining, helped me grow. So one was um, when I met one of my former mentees. His name is Wayne Halawala. He's a promoter in the gospel industry.
Mm-hmm.
Knows everybody and work with everybody. So I'm gonna give you this story because it's important for how you were saying a lot of people may be watching and don't understand that it's already inside of you.
Yes.
And any other principles and testimony. So I'm gonna try to go quick. So in 2005, I auditioned at Morgan State University. They had these choir auditions for a gospel recording under Intro Gospel, which was Troy Sneed's record label. And I also tribute him because he passed away recently.
Mm-hmm.
So it was his label, and he would go to different states every album and record Youth for Christ. That was the brand name, and that's what he would do it.
Mm-hmm.
So he was. I didn't know it. I didn't know all this at the time. I'm gonna give you the history because I know it now. But at the time, we just heard on the radio, his auditions at Morgan tonight, such and such and such, and I wasn't gonna go. Somebody called me and was like, "Are you going to the audition?" I was like, "No." They was like, "You need to go. You need to go down to that audition." My mother was like, "You need to go to that audition." So I went, and long story short, in the audition was a panel of people, including my former mentor Wayne Halawala. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know who he was at the moment. I didn't know who Troy Sneed was until he introduced himself. He's the only one that spoke at the time. I'm sorry, after Wayne Waller. I get in the room, I stand on this stage, and it's 2005, and it's like 6 panelists of people I've never seen before in my life. And Wayne is talking to me, asking me, introduce yourself, what do you do? And here it is, Kendell. I hit him with my name is Calvin Tucker. I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm a singer, songwriter, actor, model, poet.
Right.
I ran the list down, right? Because in my head, I don't know what other projects they working on. They may need to slide me in one of them categories. If they don't know, then how they go?
As a multi hyphenated person myself, I get it.
Thank you.
Make sure they know, because you don't want them to think you're just one thing and they have another role or position for you, and they're like, they don't even think of you because they don't know.
Exactly. And that's the main reason why I fought so hard. Right. So in that moment, Wayne stopped me in the middle of like talking. He was like, so you do all these things, so why do you need our help? So right now I'm pissed, right? I'm like, if I'm 37 now, I'm bad with ages. How old was I in 2005? I think I was in my 20s. I was still grown.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's still a little intimidating. You got a panel. I'm about to sing Acapulco for y'all. I don't, then you're going to stop me, and then now you coming like he was coming at my throat. He like, you do all these things, you sing, you blah blah blah. You know, you don't need our help, do you? I was like, sir, respectfully, yes, I do these things. And so, you know, I was trying to explain, but he's cutting me off. So then it became a back and forth. Like I cannot explain. I'm gonna have to put it in a movie how unprofessional I felt my mentor was at that time, because I'm younger than you, and you're taking my audition time to have an argument with me about me.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you don't know me like I know me.
Side, like, yeah, he should have pulled you to the side afterwards and said, "Listen,
right,
young brother, let me talk to you for a minute. Maybe, you know, when you go into auditions, just go for what they're, you know, like." He shouldn't have took the time, or shouldn't have did it right there in front of the other people. I know you.
But it turns out good. It turns out good. I'm gonna get to it. I promise. So Troy cut it off like, hey, I was waiting. I'm like, it took him long enough. Like, I'm like, is somebody gonna stop him? Because I'm a child to him, so they're not going. I can't stop him.
Right.
I'm just trying to audition at this. I'm like, gee, he like, the young brother ain't come here for all that. He like, let's just do what we came here to do. Let's let the young brother sing. But I just knew I didn't get in because of that whole situation. I was like, they ain't, you know, they ain't worried about me.
Yeah.
But long story short, I got in, and through those rehearsals, of course, Wayne Wilder ended up being the captain for the tenor squad because we were all, it was Youth for Christ. It was all kids up to the age of like, I think 21 or something like that, or 25. Wow.
Yeah.
So of course he was older, so he was an advisor. So he worked with us, coaching us, running through the rehearsal. So through that process, he said, why don't you let me mentor you? And I was looking at him like, what, mentor me? Now I had always wanted a mentor, right? Yeah. But I never thought it would happen that way off of something negative. But because we developed a relationship, he said, you should let me mentor you. I said, cool. So long story short, I ended up working, interning for him, doing promotions. I was already interning with who I call my first mentor, April Washington Chandler. She started out at Motown and all that type of stuff. That's another story. She was my first ever industry mentor who really poured into my life. I can't, you know, get into it, but I was working with her. And when I met him, I told her about it. I went, you know, I called, I was like, well, I met Wayne Wilder. He does such, she like, I know him. I said, am I allowed to intern with him too, or is it a conflict of interest? Because I was doing the exact same thing for both companies. Yeah. I was doing promotions for both, and I wanted to check first. That's that integrity piece that I teach my mentees about.
That's important.
Yeah. So she was like, of course, go ahead, you know. And so that's how that happened. So what started out negative ended up turning into something beautiful and positive. Yeah. You know, I met Bobby Jones through him the first time. I met so many Donald Lawrence through him. We went to the BET when they used to film the Bobby Jones show in DC.
I've been there.
He was walking through the hallway, and all the stars was just screaming his name from all the way down the hallway. Wayne, wow! Because before the audition, me and my friends, we would always crack on him. We like, yo, who is this dude? Like, we never heard of him. Like, he had so much confidence, but he was also so cocky to us, like how my audition started. Yeah. So, but to end up working with him and to see, you know, what he did in industry was very empowering.
That was just his way. And he probably was trying to even help you in there, but that was just his rough, you know, unpolished way, you know, of saying like, pick one. That's how he could have been saying, pick one. Well, you don't need us. So that's an amazing story for even someone listening or watching, because what you think might be a disaster might be just what the doctor ordered and what God intervened with. And that's to have him. And you said that you met so many amazing people and you learned so much just with working with him. Let's go further into that. And then I want to talk about Wonder Woman. So let's go further into mentorship. How you said that you were looking for a mentor, and you said that he asked if he could mentor you, and you already had mentors. Can you talk just a moment about mentorship and how important that is for people to have one, especially young people, to have a mentor in the industry that they want to enter in and to pursue?
Absolutely. But if I could real quick do the second story on how doing so much, I got challenged and actually took something from it.
Go for it.
So, so one of my high school friends saw that I was doing so much, and I had put a post out. I think it was, I can't remember the year. I mess up years. But anyway, years ago, I put out this post about leaving my regular job, feeling called to just launch out on faith. And I did this long post, and so people were hitting me up, people that like designers I've worked for, and all kinds of stuff on some positive. Like Christopher Schaefer sent me this Steve Harvey video that he was talking about leaping. You know what I'm saying? Like people really were supporting me and backing me. So I got my friend from high school, Monica Tyson. She sent me a inbox and was like, "Call me, I want to talk to you." So when she called me, she and I knew she was doing a lot in the industry and it's like events and stuff, but I didn't know what she did. And I researched
now, doesn't she?
Yes,
Yeah,
she's a beast. Like
yeah.
So she's an industry consultant, and so she charges for what she did for me. So long story short, she called me and just spoke life. She was like, "You are doing so many positive things. Like your modeling pictures are epic. This and this and this." She said, "But what happens is, if you were to pitch yourself to somebody who wants to be a possible investor or something like that, somebody that wants to, support you or back you financially, it may come off like you're not dedicated to one lane." So when she said that, I ain't want to hear it. You know what I'm saying? I was on I can do it all and it's all. So when she said that though, I can't explain to you what it did for me mentally. It helped me compartmentalize my passion and my purpose, my vision and my anointing. It helped me, my whole vision of how I wanted to do entertainment in my life. It cleared it up. And she went on, she explained some other stuff. And then when she stopped, I interjected and I said, well, let me explain, why I feel like, I've been doing it this way for such and such. And then she, responded. I was like, thank you so much. So long story short, she is the reason why my website is set up the way it is. I said, okay, let me prioritize then. I said, okay, now that in my head, so this is after the conversation with her, I'm thinking, I was already thinking though, which one out of all these careers that I'm doing, which one of these makes me the most money to where I can quit my job and try to focus on it? So that's what happened even before she called me. When she called me, it enlightened me. So I'm like, okay, modeling. Modeling was bringing in the most money. So that's, and then acting and then everything else. So on my website, if you go to www.calvinthespecialist.com, that's my official website for all your entertainment needs.
Come on now.
And if you notice, my Instagram name is Calvin, the number 2 ENT. It stands for Choose Calvin to Entertain. You're looking for a singer, a model, an actor. Who cannot choose Calvin to entertain?
That's my commercial. Changed it because it wasn't always that on Instagram, was it?
Yes, it was.
Oh, okay. So the other one is brother. That's Facebook, where it's brother.
Oh yeah, Facebook is my whole government. Okay. Yeah, brother Calvin D. Tucker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so my website. So the first page you get to is acting, because now that's the forefront. My focus now is 100%. My number one focus is acting. And so then secondary comes modeling, because a lot of times they coincide.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're doing a photo shoot that is also on the film set, because you're shooting promo for the project. It all coincides sometimes. And then music. It falls on the last page. The last page is the entertainment specialist page, where I list everything from industry consulting, from the mentorship to the clothing design, rap, singing, everything, doing backflips. All that's on the last page.
Yeah.
And so she helped me compartmentalize.
That's good.
So it can be good. And I encourage people to, even though you may hear something that you don't like, does not mean that a person has an intent to put you down. You have to decipher what you're hearing, if it's quality or if it's someone's just their opinion, or if they're scared for you. Because sometimes people that love you can be scared for you, and then try to talk you out of some mega moves, Yeah. So yeah. So what was the next question? I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, we got until 5 of, because then someone else is coming on and we don't want them to cut us off. So I want to just quickly talk about mentorship. If you can talk about the importance of mentorship quickly, for someone who is in an industry and they just really can't find their way, or they're not sure what to do in that industry. Talk about mentorship quickly and how important and how it impacted your life, because you mentioned a couple of times that you had a couple of mentors throughout your journey.
And so Mentorship is so important for tons of reasons, especially being a black man. And I'll tell you, that's why when God showed me that I was supposed to be a part of inspiring and helping young people, specifically young African American boys, it matched who He created me to be. I didn't have to question it. I moved into it.
Yeah.
And so, because of how I grew up, I look at the OGs on the block in my hood, how they used to look out for us in the streets. And how they used to, you need something from the store, they'd bring us they used to call them Huggies, little fruit punch or a little candy, like, you need something from the store.
Sugar jug.
Right. They look out for you.
Yeah.
It transitioned into the church. In the church, the deacons had my back. They would be at the youth night singing my songs like they on the record.
Wow.
They always testify to that. The deacons at my church, they really blessed me by supporting me like that. So then you transition into entertainment. And then you're looking at, okay, who's doing what I want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Am I able to reach out to the person? Might they be able to help me? Those are the questions that lead you to getting a mentor. That's really that simple. And I feel like it can happen two ways. One, it can happen a couple ways. The mentor can see you and say, hey, I feel like I can offer you some encouragement, some advice.
Mm-hmm.
Let me mentor you. Or the mentee can say, hey, can you help me? Or someone can send your stuff to someone, or send a video or something like, hey, you probably can help this young man, or something like that.
Yeah.
So however it comes, you will know based on, you always research your mentors too.
Yeah.
If you don't know their work, you research, can this person really help me do what I'm trying to do?
Yeah.
Mentorship is so important because if you advice on stuff that you may be contemplating at the time in your career that you have no idea anybody else ever went through. That's the creative blessing, I think.
Yeah.
A mentally creative blessing, I call it, because you can get stuck, right? And you can be trying to make a decision like, oh, okay, well, how do I get funds for this? Or, dang, I want to do a clothing line, but, and you're thinking you're the only one that has these questions, or you're the only one that don't know how to do this specific thing, so you don't know who to ask. Yeah. Having a mentor allows you to ask all your crazy questions for them to guide you and lead you.
I love it. I think thank you for sharing that, because I think it's so important for people to realize, because a lot of people don't want nobody to tell them nothing, or they're trying to do everything because they want to do it solo to show that I did this or I did that. But I really think that mentorship is so important, just period, as a young person and even an older person. If someone is where you want to be, like you said, you need that sounding board to answer questions, to bounce things off of, to make sure you're in line with what God called you to be and do, and what you want to do as a profession or career. So all right, so as we wind down, you said that, and this went so fast, you got to come back. But
1 hour is it don't be, we need 6 hours.
I know, but I love it because you speak, and this is a talk show, so I want somebody who talks. So I love it.
I talk. Everybody know Cal. Boy, that boy Cal.
And I'm still looking for a wife for Calvin, y'all. So if you out
come on, hey,
I'm still looking for a wife. I created a dating show just for him. So I'm still looking for, but I'm a vet him all because he don't need no junk. But we'll talk about that. We'll come back later for that. But you said you said that acting is on the forefront, and that's what you really want to put your focus on now. You want to have that laser beam towards acting roles. So let's talk about how you were on Wonder Woman, and what future and what projects do you have going on now, and what do you see your acting career looking like in the future? So let's go for 5 minutes. Go on. Say what you got to say.
So for those that don't know, I was an extra in the newest Wonder Woman 1984 film.
That came out.
What you also don't know is that we filmed that in summer of 2018. I'm bad with years. Anyway, it was 2 years before it came out, because it got pushed back twice because of the network. They were trying to do, business wise. They were figuring out, we want to release this before this series or this whatever. So it got bumped twice. Then the pandemic happened, and it kept getting bumped and bumped and bumped and bumped and bumped and bumped. they had like 3 or 4 new release dates as time went on. So we like, oh, bro, is it ever coming out? So long story short, I'm in there, and you can go to my website or you can look on YouTube, and I show you where I'm at. So I'm very visible. And
Mm-hmm.
on that set,
I
it
saw it.
was the epitome of my dream
Oh,
because as an actor, you know, in every field we have like, well, what is your height, or what would you, what is the atmosphere when you're officially there?
yeah,
Is what I mean.
yeah.
And so you don't get any more state of the art, any more top of the line than a superhero action feature film directed by Patty Jenkins and other directors. I learned so much. I became union eligible and became union during that
Oh,
project.
that's awesome.
It was an amazing. I saw stunts for the first time. We ran through smoke. It blew my mind. Every day on set it was like, God, yes. This is like when you wake up every day and your day is different, but it's the same, but it's different. Oh, I
How
can
many days were
everybody.
you on set?
I was booked originally for 24 days, but
Wow.
because of production and weather and changing and how the show shifted around, I only shot like maybe I shot close to 24, maybe 21,
Oh,
21
wow.
of those days probably.
So that is a
Yeah,
dream for an actor to be on a high budget film and
right.
seeing all of these things for the very first time, you know, of course, hair and makeup stunts, then you're watching the other leads, and then you're the
Hmm.
extra, and then you're seeing all the movement of what it is to make a movie.
Yes, on that level
Wow.
too.
That fed you. I know it fed you. I know
You
it
come
did.
on. I was full every day, and what really took me out of here was the day. So I got bumped from just an extra to a featured extra, but they cut the scene. They cut me out of the scene. They showed it the scene, but they cut me out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the process of doing that, I got a bump in pay. It's called a pay bump. When you get elevated to a different level, you got a pay
Mm-hmm.
bump. Then the directors knew my name, the other directors. So what happened was when we would meet at a mall in Virginia, and then we would shuttle out to different parts of DC to shoot different in Virginia to shoot different scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So one time my scene was in Georgetown,
Mm-hmm.
but you know we in Virginia, so they put all the extras. They was like, just get on a bus, just get on a bus. So I got on a bus that was the wrong bus, but the PAs and everybody wasn't really paying attention to who to put on which bus. They just put all the extras on the bus because we were going to the same general area.
Yeah.
Long story short, I ended up like 4 blocks up the street where they were filming other scenes like car chases
Mm-hmm.
or and stuff like other stuff. And so they happened to need more actors down by where I was supposed to shoot. And they went down the line. They said from this person to this person, can y'all come with me? And I happened to be in that section. So I get on we walked down the street, my bad. We walked down the street and I ended up where I was supposed to be. And so when I'm sitting there and holding, it's called holding when you're waiting for your scene to shoot.
Yeah.
But you can be on set and holding, still watching the scene, and you're not on yet.
Yeah.
So I hear people yelling, "Where's Calvin? Where's Calvin?" And I'm like, wait, do they mean is it another director or a PA named Calvin? And it's like Calvin Tucker. I was like, that's me. I'm like, the directors know my name. Like what? And it's not a shock
Wow.
that they knew because I was on the list as a feature extra for that scene. They were looking for me that whole time when I was up the street, and I
Wow.
was on the wrong shuttle.
Did
So I'm
you
just
get down there? You couldn't get down
yeah,
there?
I was already down. You know, when they were calling me, I was right there. I was watching them, looking at them call me, but I didn't know if it was me yet.
Right. Or
You get what I'm
wow.
saying? It was so much that can happen on set too. That's a beautiful part too. It's so much going on at one
Yeah.
time. You
Yeah.
don't even know.
Yeah.
There's so many moving parts. You will never know.
Yeah.
Like it's funny. Extras they try to get their screen time.
Yeah.
It could be a camera right here in your face, right? And a cameraman actively shooting, and they're not even getting you.
Yeah.
And you thinking, oh snap!
Right.
This is my 15 minutes.
Right.
People be trying, actually be trying to fight to get in certain
So
positions. It'd be
funny.
so funny. We be sitting back like, if they only knew,
Right. They're
boy.
not even looking. Right. That we're winding down. So quickly. I know you gave your website earlier. I want you to give it again. But what are you working on quickly? If you can just tell us what you're working on
You can
right now.
catch me in the Science and Kirk insurance commercial. I mean, not insurance, their law firm, injury law. You can check that out on YouTube as well. I'm filming something very special this Saturday, and I can't wait to release it. But it's coming out next month, though.
So you gotta come
So
back.
you don't have to wait.
You gotta come
Which
back.
is a,
You gotta come back to talk about that when that comes out, so you can
okay.
watch it.
Okay. You're not gonna have to wait for that one. I got a photo shoot for it's like a commercial photo shoot this week as well. Oh, www.calvinthespecialist.com. Holla at your boy. You know, I'm looking for a sponsor to help me pay for the rest of my album too.
I know that's
so. If you are a business, if you are a sponsor, you want to help your boy achieve this dream, let's talk about, I only need about $3,000, and that's the blessing. I only need about $3,000 more dollars to finish my album. Holla at me if you want to sponsor me. We can make it work for you too. Let's go.
All right, sing us out so they can hear what they're getting. Just sing us a little something. Let them know that you got a voice, because they don't want to donate to someone who can't sing. So
come on,
go ahead. Take us on out. Take us on out.
Woo! Take the pain away. Get me out of this place. Can someone be my hero? It's an emergency. Take the pain away. Thank you, Kendell.
Take the pain away.
That's my new single, 1-800. It's now available on all digital platforms. 1-800 by Brother Calvin. That's a dedication to my father, my cousin, to Maestri Carter, and my childhood friend, Ronnie Collins.
Absolutely. Calvin, thank you so much for coming on Tea and Conversations. Everything that I do, you're there to support. With your positive outlook, your chipper spirit, and just your just sweet nature. You know, you have that. And I see, and I wish nothing but much success to you with everything that you're doing. And I'm so proud to call you a friend. You know,
absolutely.
I love your grind. I love your hustle. And just don't stop and don't lose that. And thank you for having integrity and standards in this crazy business. Thank you for doing that. Your parents did well with you, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
All right, Calvin, I will see you next month?
Yeah.
So we can promote more of what you're doing. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This is Tea and Conversations. I'm here every single week. Come back at 6 p.m., which is in 5 minutes. I have another guest, Sherelle Ashton. Thank you, Calvin.